Okay, I'd like to call the Thursday, October 20th Parks and Community Services Committee to order. First on the agenda, we have approval. First on the agenda, we have approval of the minutes from the September 15th meeting.
Nobody have any changes? I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to just make one comment first. It's so nice to have everybody here. So do we have any public comment? Tessa?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Okay, so we'll go first into to our first agenda item, which is the Little Free Library. Stacy, would you like to introduce our guests?
So today we have Mindy Hardwick and Kat Woolen. Mindy, as you know, is the one that came to the committee request. Kat oversees the Little Free Library of the church and has a lot of information, has a lot of history. So they will share with us today.
So would you like to join us at the big people's table?
Big pieces.
Thanks for coming.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Here, sit down.
Thanks.
Morning.
Thank you for putting us first on the agenda. I'm juggling my online teaching job and I have a training at 10, but thank you for doing that.
Okay, we'll get you out of here by 5 till. So do you want to go ahead and?
Sure. So I had an opportunity to watch the recording and I just wanted to address a couple of the questions that came up and clarify. And then Kat is here too. And she does the Little Free Library at the church. And so both of us then could answer questions today if you have questions. So the first thing that came up was the Little Free Library is a nonprofit, but we are not a nonprofit. I am an individual and Kat is an individual, and we do this on our own. It's not, we're not part of a nonprofit that's doing that. And that was one of the questions that was, I think, on the recording. And then another question that came up was why the North End and not Haystack Heights? And while I agree that there are tons of kids up in Haystack Heights, we also have families in the North End, and I live in the North End. And since I'm the one that's proposing this, that's why I'm asking for the Shirley Park. Let's see, I think there was something else. Let me get my notes.
And the kids in our neighborhood are super excited about the idea.
Yeah, they're very excited about the idea. There's one family, and she has, I don't know where my notes are. There's one family and she has 3 kids, and they all go to Fire Mountain and they're very excited. They're asking me already, where is it? Is it all that? And then, the other thing that I just wanted to address a little bit was there was a comment about, having the library oversee it for appropriate materials or things like that. So just as who I am and what my background is, I've taught in education for 26 years, and I currently teach in an online high school in Gresham Barlow that allows me to work out here. But I work with low income and very diverse population. I also serve on my school equity team and inclusion team. So I'm very versed in children's literature and books and what works for diverse populations. So Kat, do you want to talk a little bit about?
Sure. So I started started curating the Little Free Library that is on the property of the community church in Cannon Beach. This is where I started my research, littlefreelibrary.org. And this is a book that was written for children by the founder that started Little Free Library in 2005. And that book is written for children. It shows the history of Little Free Library and why it got started. I did a lot of research on it because I knew that it would have responsibility behind it to curate it, which it does. I probably attend the Little Free Library on Washington and Hemlock 4 to 5 times a week to make sure that there are enough books in the Little Free Library. I spend probably $500 a year, and my husband and I have put that money in our personal budget. There are 3 people in Cannon Beach who make a donation once a year to me and my husband to make sure that we can afford the books. We go to different libraries and garage sales and estate sales, and we buy books that are always at a sale. There are people who I would say in the last year and a half who have caught on to the fact that it's share a book, donate a book. Les and Lynn have done a really good job of finding children's books. Between the month of June and September, the books at the Little Free Library fly out of there because it's on Hemlock and a lot of people find a book to take to the beach, and because it is frequented by tourists. All of our books are stamped on the inside with the stamp that my daughter made for us. The reason why we stamp the books is because it's suggested through the Little Free Library that you stamp the books so that they can't be resold. If someone decides that they want to just come and grab a lot of them and take them somewhere and resell them. Also, it's in memory of my mother, so it's a way for her spirit to carry on. We try to make sure that we get the word out. Let's say that you have a grandchild or someone that you love who has passed on and you want their memory to carry on. You can donate on their birthday. You could do it on Valentine's Day. You could do it on the anniversary of a loved one, and you can write a message on the inside and then say, please pass it on. A lot of people do that, and it's really a wonderful way to remember someone. I help homeschool 3 young ladies in our town who I'm training to learn how to curate the Little Free Library. So they help wash the windows. We added a bench a year later in memory of the man who built the brick wall on Hemlock, and money was donated for that bench. I have some really beautiful stories to tell about the Little Free Library. When I stop by and people are reading, a dad with his daughter who said this is somewhere where we stop every summer. People have left thank you notes. I have a beautiful story I could tell you about some people who are living out of their backpack who have thanked me for Louis L'Amour books that I leave. I have people leave notes about suggestions about the kind of books they would like to leave, which has been really good for me because I know what I like, but I have to figure out what other people like. And so I also try to put books in that correspond with the time of the year, holidays. Right now, I try to make sure that there's a lot of Halloween books for children. So it's been a really great project for me to take on for myself. My grandsons now have a Little Free Library. I always have books in my Jeep because once you register your Little Free Library, Cannon Beach is now on the map. So when someone who knows about Little Free Libraries know about it, then you just put into your iPhone Little Free Library, and it comes up where it says location. You put in zip code 97110, and we come up. And it shows exactly where the Little Free Library is. So people have left notes for me to say, oh, we found the Little Free Library. They come right to it. And some people come with books that they want to donate, or they come and they get a book and then they leave a little note in the book and said, I read this while I was here in town. It was the perfect book. Thank you so much. So it's really a great addition to our community. I think that we need to find as many ways as we can to spread the love and to spread kindness. And I think that it's one of the greatest things that I've done because Cannon Beach has given a lot to me, and it's a good way to give back to Cannon Beach. And I think what Mindy is doing is wonderful. My family lives in Austin, Texas. We have found a lot of Little Free Libraries in Austin, Texas, and the majority of them are at parks, state parks and parks where kids come, where there's also places for them to play. And we always leave books at Little Free Libraries when we find them in Austin, Texas. So I'm glad we're going to have another one. I think it's a wonderful idea and I really support what she's doing.
Great. Thank you very much.
There are 150,000 Little Free Libraries in the world as of today, and there will be 151,000.
Thanks, Kat.
You're welcome. So do we have questions of our presenters? Thank you, guys. That was inspiring.
Well, I do, but first for the record, if you'll quote me, is that I totally support the concept of a little free library. But some of my questions are just in regard to having it set up at our city park and just what that's going to do for the liability of the city. When we say okay to one, do we have to start saying okay to more and more? And if they start becoming a memorial sort of, well, we want to, I don't know, put benches in and things of that nature. So, and then the idea of having it accessible to where children actually live, I think is important. And it brings me to the question of why not at the city park? What is Les Shirley Park, where the kids are at the city park playing on the play equipment? So those are just some of my questions. And then just if it is going to be on the app, does it not have to be registered? The Little Free Library?
It does, yeah, it is
I
registered.
thought that it's not going to be registered. It's just going to be.
No, it will be registered.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not registered right now because of this process.
And you're targeting what age group?
It's all age groups.
Well, I'm in support of it, whatever the majority of the committee wants to do, but those are just some of my questions. And then, if we proceed, just when do you anticipate having the structure ready to fill with books?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And one thing, so I have not approached Phil, who has volunteered to do this because again of this process, and I didn't want to set something into motion that was not going to go. So I will approach him once I have the official approval where it might be and different requirements and different materials that you all think would be appropriate. Then I will go to him and then it is on his schedule. We are going into the winter. So I don't know, when I would see that. I would need to check with him and what his schedule is for how he builds these.
So who was that? Somebody?
So it's Phil. He works for Rita with the Cannon Beach Landscaping.
Okay.
He built another one that's in the S curves, Mary Ellen's. And he would like to build more book houses, as he calls it. So he volunteered to do it.
Well, I think, Anita, one of your questions in terms of the location is surely is a start. And, we could have, eventually have one in the main city park and other locations. So, I think the location is because of Mindy's proximity to Les Shirley. And like anything, when we start a new project, gotta pick a spot. And
So you're anticipating having little free libraries throughout town? Is that?
I think that would be wonderful.
And then how does our town library going to feel about that?
Well, I would.
That's a nonprofit and I think that encouraging, just because it does rain, we don't want to just circumvent the library and start having little free libraries throughout town so that
I don't.
it discourages.
I can address that. I did a week before mine was put into the ground, I wrote a letter to our library because I've been a volunteer there for 15 years. I completely support public libraries and I let them know what I was doing. And Jen, the manager, and Buddy at the time, both of them completely supported what I was doing. And I have asked them several times to give me little bookmarkers to direct people to the public library. I would never, ever want to compete with the public library in any way. So I wanted them to know before I did it what I was doing so that they would be aware of it. And I got their complete support. So usually in almost all communities, public libraries and little free libraries do their best to work together and support each other.
So do you think that the folks over at our library are already aware, Mindy, that you're considering this, or have we had any
I haven't had any discussion with them. If there's been discussion, I don't know.
I don't think there would be any conflict either, but I do think it's appropriate to discuss it. Kind of let everybody know what's going on. I'm 100% in support as well, but I did have one lingering question that I think I walked away with last time, which was the difference between a little library on private property versus one on public property. And what are the issues that may or may not come up? And the one that I'm specifically thinking is, what's to stop someone from putting inappropriate material in a library in a public place where anybody has the right to, to do anything versus on private property where I think you've got a little more control. It's just a lingering concern that I had, and I don't understand. I was glad to hear that maybe in Austin, they've got a lot more on public property. Maybe there's a precedent.
It's an issue that is addressed in this newsletter that comes out. I get one a month. Pornography. And yet I've only had to pull pornography out once. And the other thing that I kind of wonder about is vandalism. The only thing that's been stolen is someone made really beautiful bookends for the Little Free Library. And I'm not quite sure who did it. I think it was maybe someone who goes to our church. And I left them in. They were absolutely gorgeous. And they were stolen within 3 days. I kind of knew they would be. Some people have left little stained glass, trinkets and lovely things. And I always leave those in there, postcards and stickers and that kind of thing. You try not, it's advised for those kind of things to not start being put in so it doesn't become like a little mini store. But I try to leave those kind of gestures of kindness in there as much as I can. I didn't shut it down very long during COVID because I just put sanitizer in there because I thought, if everyone's locked down and they need something to do, they need to read a book. So I didn't shut down very long. It was kind of advised to leave it up to our own thinking. I've never had to deal with graffiti or that kind of thing. I just think I've been very lucky, but they address those issues and they kind of explain to you how to handle it, which is one reason why I've stamped my books. I think it's just something that when you take that kind of vulnerability or risk or responsibility, you use common sense and you just have to be wise and you have to address it. And it's kind of like anything you decide to do. There's going to be some issues you might have to deal with, and you do,
And I don't want to belabor my point, but I understand, Mindy, you're going to police and that's perfect. But if you take someone's material out that they have put in and it's totally inappropriate, is that going to cause the city any potential grief if someone were to come say, well, look, this is
Censoring.
public park.
Yeah.
I have the right to put whatever I want to in there.
At that time, we'd be looking to get rid of the,
And so I just kind of wanted to step in.
when we discussed this before, we were looking at, we were concerned about weather, moisture getting inside this free library box. So we discussed putting it on the bus shelter to protect it from the wind and rain. One thing I'm going to need is a drawing or a picture of what this is going to look like. Because I got to go through the planning department to see if it's got to go to DRB.
Okay.
But I agree, the sensitivity of the material that's in there, if it becomes an issue, it's going to get removed.
Well, excuse me, it seems to me if once someone puts something in there, the second they put it in there, they don't possess it anymore. It's no longer theirs. It's up to Mindy or to monitor it or the city, and they no longer own it, so we do what we want with it. So I can't see anybody coming back here. Like,
Well, I can see pushback though, if somebody puts a book in there and then
it's gone the
it's
next.
subjective to, well, this is an appropriate book for
that
this.
person ever know what's happened to the book, because it's the whole nature of it is that it's just, it's changed.
Right?
It's supposed to go away, so.
Yeah.
And also, like, we all live in this world and there's things that we don't like that some people look at and others don't. And as a parent, we protect our children as best as we can from seeing materials that are inappropriate. And when they're beyond that age range, then that's kind of the natural progression of things. So I just feel like you can't protect it completely because we live in a society where we're.
Impossible to define inappropriate to me.
Right.
I mean, but
Subjective.
not much is inappropriate.
Well, and that's where, does the committee really want to get involved with that? And that's where, when it's on private property, then that's where whoever the owner is can say, this book stays, this book doesn't. And are we going to get any pushback from? It's hard to forecast, but I potentially see that as something that would come up at some point, that, these, whether it's religious or political or, any number of reasons that somebody would come before us and say, hey, but this isn't being, in the, being used in the intent of the Little Free Library.
But I think our committee's role is, because it's in a city park, we're the first ones to
Right.
approve the concept. We are not going to be the managers of the project. Mindy's going to, in the Little Free Library organization. I often think if we don't take risks, we're never going to do anything. And this to me is a huge benefit to the community. And I think we need to move it to the next step. And the city attorney will be obviously involved in just making sure everything's
If I
okay.
receive what it's gonna look like, then will trigger the process.
I'd like to see that too.
Gathering the.
And then
information.
also, I was wondering what I couldn't find it in the code criteria, what would be uses in the park, just to make sure that there's nothing in there that states you can't build a little structure in a city park.
I
So
don't.
I'd like to see that park use criteria as well.
I
Just to
think
make
most
sure.
libraries in the world are public. This is just a little one.
I think Little Free Libraries bring joy and happiness because they're full of books. And I've brought a lot of books home and read them, and I brought a lot of books to my husband, and we've read more books than I've only taken out one or two. And it's no different than walking into a bookstore and making your personal choice. And I think bookstores are some of the best stores in the world. So I support Mindy in adding more books to the world, especially our community. And I think she has good common sense. Thank you.
How often will you be monitoring what materials in there?
Well, right now, the dog and I take a daily walk there. So he's older and that's where he goes. I also have this little family in the north end, and then another family that also are very excited and have offered to help me monitor it when I'm not here.
Daily?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that.
Okay.
I mean, if it's, sleeting rain, maybe not, but.
Betty, do you have any questions, comments?
I'm just excited about it. Thanks.
So at the next meeting, will you bring us?
Sure, what you'd like, yeah. the next-
And you guys can decide.
Are we okay with that? In terms of next step? And then after that, we can go to design review and see if it's
I'll start the
Minor.
conversation with Jeff.
okay.
I already told him about it, but he's
Okay.
it's gonna look like, and it possibly be a minor, and
Okay.
then I'll have a discussion with Ashley.
Kat, do you remember any design review process that you had to go?
I went to the manager. I'm trying to remember his name. And I kept asking him questions. I said, well, what about this? And he said, no, I approve. I said, well, what about this? He goes, no, I approve. He was from Portland, or he knew about some in Portland. I had a list, and he goes, do you want me to make it hard? I said, no. He goes, do you want me to come up with some problems? And I said, no. And so we did it that night.
Oh,
I
Okay,
put it in that night.
okay.
And I thought it would be a problem because it was on church property. He goes, no, that's not a problem either. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
So,
And I guess part of the design process too is, so last time it sounded like we were talking about putting it in the bus station. So is that still where it's seen the best, and then where in the bus station? Because I probably need to have some of that information to bring it to Phil.
So I think the bus shelter makes sense. In terms of-
That erect a new post or anything like that. in the
Right.
park.
there's 5 6x6 posts that hold up the bus station.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna recommend one. I kind of recommend going inside. Right, just back.
Because it'd be protected from
We
the
don't
one
wanna-
side.
Okay, inside.
The thing I guess, a cola's etchings,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
shouldn't affect that. There are no etchings on the sides, so you can also put it posts facing in, but it would still be a little bit exposed. I think we have the opportunity to keep it completely
Yeah.
under shelter,
yeah, that's nice.
which would be and we have a little reading room. And the bus stop doesn't get much, isn't much of a bus stop.
That's a great idea.
Okay, so back there, because I saw the etched glass and I wasn't sure.
But I don't think, yeah, so the designer would be aware of the edge glass and do the best he can,
Okay.
I think. Shouldn't really, I don't think it will affect it.
Okay.
And Nicola loved to read too.
Nicola wouldn't. But again, belongs to the city. Cola
Right.
out of the.
Exactly, yeah,
Once it's ours, it's ours.
okay. So do you have you understand what you're gonna do? Yeah, okay. Yep, anybody else have any comments or anything? I'd like to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's all.
Considering this, yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
Got you out of here in plenty of time.
thank you. Go to my training.
Yeah. Okay. So next on the agenda, we have the monthly State of the Parks report.
I talked last month about the garden club doing a lot of work at the Tollivan Hall. Unbeknownst to me, they weren't even close to being done, so we ended up hauling 7 truckloads of material away from Tollivan Hall. I helped them prune some trees, took down some old dead Christmas lights. Anyway, it's looks great right now. And I think it hasn't looked this good in 3 or 4 years. We removed the windscreens from the tennis court for the season. We received 10 new trash receptacle frames and 2 new benches from Matt Verley. He's our contractor who builds the DRB approved trash receptacles and benches. And we've assembled and deployed 4 of the trash receptacles to replace ones that we juggle around for the busy season. So sometimes there's duplicates. Those are all going to stay where they are. We're not going to move them again. So there's 83 trash receptacles in the city, just for your information. So the ones that we had removed them from for a little while, those have all been covered. And there's one new one is at the west end of Washington.
Thank you.
It was a citizen who requested one there. I forget who it was, but we are putting it there, but you're welcome. We took down the flower baskets. We left them up long enough to give the Alka the nice dessert, and then we took them down. Our annual herbicide control contractor came and went in a day and hit the no knotweed around town. There's only one new patch that we discovered since last year. And of course, the ones that this is, I think, his third year hitting with Aaron, second or third, but the known patches are really diminished and there's not much out there. It's really under control. And so that's a positive.
Where'd you find the new one?
The new one was off of Fifth Street. Okay, so south of Fifth Street, just east of Logan Creek, between Haney and Les Shirley. Betsy Ayers turned it in and it was right off the sidewalk and it was a little bit there. So Joe and I started pulling it out, digging it out, and then we started following it back in and I came upon this stand of giant 12 footers, 100 square feet, bigger. It was just, so we quickly put that on the list and,
Cool.
and this is what this guy Aaron does. He just like, nothing phases him. He can go anywhere. He's a goat. So the concert season is over, so the power has been turned off at the bandstand. It can always be turned on as necessary, for instance, Christmas lights. And the much loved seasonal porta potty has been hauled away for this season as well. We cleaned gutters at the bandstand for the first time in a few years and at the Les Shirley restroom. We spread about 1,500 pounds of turf fertilizer. Our annual autumn turf fertilizer dose is done. And the Purple Martin houses I loaded them yesterday and the volunteers are gonna hit them today to start cleaning the inserts, the nesting boxes that are inside the houses. And after which we'll take them apart, disassemble them and stash them at the wastewater plant for the winter and they'll go back up again next spring. So.
Any questions?
There is a trash can right by Fultano's that's pretty much right out in the middle of the sidewalk. Is there a history to that
There's
location?
one at Portano's. It's one of the ones that's backwards. It's not, to me, it's not on the sidewalk at all.
Okay,
Let me
but
go,
it is on the sidewalk.
I'll go check it. Well, but they move around pretty easy, so I should go. I haven't looked at it for a long time.
Well, I mean, when you get people that are just two, I mean, you have to go single file and I just didn't know if Fultano's wanted it there because.
Okay, so I know this one because it's one of the ones where the door, we had it built, the poem built backwards because the door has to open the street. That's also where you read the poem. There's only 2 or 3 of them like that in town. Let me go look at it because to my best of my knowledge, it was off the sidewalk,
Okay.
tucked in that.
Know where I'm talking about, just right on Second and Fultano's, right between the Waves and Fultano's.
But yeah, there's just one on that side of Second. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'll go look at it.
Yeah, just see what you think if it's, if it's there for a reason, but it just seemed like it's,
Well, it's been there forever, so I don't know.
I know, that's,
But you think it's been in the sidewalk too much?
well, I just wonder if we still want it there, if it's being used enough to warrant it being in that.
I kind of respond to the whims of Trevor, whatever he
Right.
tells me to do.
Well, I figured there's a good reason. I just was
I
curious.
mean, we could ask Portano's if they wanted. It's actually designed for that particular, it's one of those very few, it's one of 2.
See where the next closest trash receptacle
There's
is.
one across the street around the corner a little bit by Insomnia. But there's not one on either of those corners.
Yeah.
There's 2 across Hemlock, but neither one of them.
Leave it in that general area.
Right.
I think it was requested to put be in Portano's and take out slices and whatnot. It's
Right.
places are known for having trash cans.
Well, it looks like it's covering up some sort of utility.
Check it out, Kirk.
I will.
But we'll see what you say, what you think.
Go check it out.
And then I was
Okay.
glad to see one put at the dog store,
Mhm.
put back there after that unfortunate accident by a
Yeah.
community member.
Okay, any other questions?
Thank you, Kirk.
Thank you.
Always. Okay, next, we had at the last meeting asked to always have right-of-way tree removal. And so it's there, but we did not have any right-of-way tree removals. Also, thank you, Tessa, for putting that the ordinance in the packet and which was requested at the last meeting also. So anybody have any comments, questions?
Well, I just hope the Parks Committee can see some of these applications that come in before they're sent. I mean, it just seems like the process is the application comes in and then it gets approved and then we're getting it the next month to see where it is or what's, it just seems that maybe we could see it before it's approved. So if we had any questions or wanted to go
Address that?
see it, or, I mean, I don't know how this
To
process,
advise you guys that the tree's getting removed.
Right.
right?
Yeah, so
But we're not really able to
weigh in on it.
weigh in on it.
The arborist dictates what goes and stays. So he gets the say on it. It's just a courtesy heads up.
But there is a public process, right?
Yeah, of course, we go through the public process,
Right.
like anything else.
It's notified.
Neighbors get notified.
Okay. Great. Okay, next we have the Heritage Tree Program, and the ordinance was approved by the city council, so
Resolution or
I gotta say it right, the resolution, sorry. And so in working on the Tree City USA application, they were excited to hear that we had a Heritage Tree Program now, so that will help with that process also. And hopefully we'll get some applications.
Yeah, we got to get it online. We got to get this online, and I've been talking with Rusty. We got a lot going on. It's on his list of things to do.
Okay.
But once we get it online, you guys will be notified.
Okay.
It's online.
Perfect.
can we nominate a tree as the Parks Committee or can a member of the Parks Committee?
You're a citizen, so yeah, you can.
Okay.
As a citizen, you would in the park.
Yeah, and then we always
Tree board.
sure that when that comes, to our attention, that you say you nominated as a citizen, not as a member of the Parks Committee.
But just bear with us because we got a lot going on.
I know, yeah.
I've talked to Rusty. He's like, it's on my list.
Yeah.
But we're just gonna need some time to get it online, give it a trial run, see how it acts.
Good. Okay, well, thanks to everyone for all of your work. And then next, whenever we have an event, I always like to do an evaluation. So we had the community grant ceremony. In my estimation, it was very poorly attended by community and people recipients. We had 4 out of 14 there. I'm not sure. I think, Tessa, we only had one organization that responded that they might not be able to attend because they were in court. That was CASA, but we didn't have any other communication with the organizations. So I think we need to have a discussion about how we can increase the attendance at the event. I mean, to me, it's one of the best nights in town. You get to hear about a lot of wonderful organizations and the impact that Cannon Beach is making to those organizations. And I don't know if the answer is to give them their check for the event and maybe have the event earlier, matches with their funding needs. But I was very disappointed in the attendance.
Is there a problem having it earlier? I mean, we do have it kind of late in this for people to plan their budget. Is there a problem for us to have it earlier?
I don't think so. I mean, it can't be any earlier than, our process would be August. So we're basically talking about moving the ceremony a month earlier.
Yeah.
Which is August is a busy time for everyone, but I think the recipients would show up to receive their checks. I'm not sure if our community be able to, but I just think we should have a discussion. So
Has it been well attended previous to COVID?
yes,
So
it was very well. In fact, we would have. I mean, a lot of times we had 100% attendance from the recipients, and we had a lot of community members. It was, a really great event. And I can remember a couple of years where we just had one organization that couldn't attend and they RSVP'd so I mean, I was disappointed that I thought, well, wait a minute, we're not just going to go back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it wasn't a potluck, I think, might have impacted the community, but we didn't have a choice in that. That's a health department regulation that we need to follow. So what are people's thoughts?
Well, it just seems that since COVID affected it so much that it's just a matter of putting the word out there more and just, we're back. Really want you to attend or hope you will attend and just maybe advertising it sooner and getting it more exciting to
Yeah.
attend. And I'm not sure how you would do that since it's my first year on the committee.
Yeah.
Winning the grants, so.
Uncertainty, I thought, early in the year about whether we were even going to get
Right.
to, and so that played a little bit of. role
Right,
in it.
yeah.
I do think that if you hand out checks, then certainly someone will show up to receive them. But I hate to
Yeah.
turn that into a stick.
Right.
I'm wondering if maybe we couldn't just communicate with those organizations and say, you know, we had this get together and we really wish you had come, and just kind of see if they can't do better next time. So I guess I'm not saying we should hold the checks. I think that they legitimately need them as early as they can get them. But I'd like to see better participation, certainly on the people who we're funding. In the community, I think that's just, we need to get it out in front of people even earlier than maybe what we did this time.
Okay.
Well, we could say to the community, the people that are receiving our funds, this is a way for you to spread your word throughout the community.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't realize, I mean, this is my second year and I didn't really know these people until last year. So it's
Right.
nice would be nice to see them and see what they have to say and introduce them to the community. So it's to their benefit. So it would seem.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, and there's every once in a while, we get a little criticism from members of the community that we're giving money out to people organizations that aren't based in Cannon Beach. And I think the ceremony allows the organizations to let the community know how much it really does impact Cannon Beach. I mean, I think there's some people that think there's no, abuse or, alcoholism or any of that kind of stuff in Cannon Beach, but there is. And so it's a good awareness for our community to know that these problems do exist in our town and this is how we address some of them. So if I was to compose an email to go to the organizations and have you guys approve it at the next meeting, just to say, hey, we missed you. We look forward to working with you in the future and maybe ask if were compelling reasons why they didn't attend. Would that be something an approach we would like to take? And not use the check as the stick.
I think that's a good idea. I mean, I think that's totally appropriate to follow up with the organizations.
And then maybe a thank you to the 4
Sure.
groups that did attend.
But also we could maybe I know we have all these check things of what they do to pass the grant process. If we could highlight that that's the culmination in our application. And this is a chance for you to be part of our community if you're, not in our community. Anyway, something like that on our application to make it more strongly recommended.
Okay.
It is in the application already, isn't it?
It is, but it's kind of, doesn't feel like it's a requirement.
So when we get into the grant process, we will go through
Yeah.
the application and let's remember that. I
Yeah.
want to really stress that we want them to attend the ceremony.
One of the parts of the grant has always been the organizations need to tell us what they did with the prior year's
Right.
grant. Well, that's actually what we might like them to do at the kind of tie into that a little bit. Instead of just getting the report that we get,
Right.
share with the community what
What
they
they
did.
did. Yeah. That's a good
idea.
Yeah.
And maybe we could do it early in September rather than late in September. Because August is so busy and,
Right.
but maybe like right after Labor Day. we could-
Well, we purposely went away from the week of Labor Day because we did have some groups that were associated with schools and they're just getting started, but maybe the week right after Labor Day would be. Okay, so that sounds good. Amy, any?
I, not knowing what they've been like in the past, would also just think that if incorporating the potluck aspect again and having it be a shared meal would also be more,
But we can't
but we can't.
do that, yeah. So
Is that going to change?
I don't think so. I don't think that was a COVID issue. I think it was something that we just never asked. And then we're told that it's a health department.
I see.
Kidding.
Yeah, which is too bad.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
That was
COVID.
always a good social event. And I don't know if it's just something that the city has to follow as a city. And like the return of the salmon, because that's not a city event.
I think it's just city, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's city,
My impression.
Yeah.
So,
correct.
Is there an opportunity to have catering to avoid that issue, or is it a financial concern?
I think a catering event would be,
Yeah, the city
Spending.
got to
yeah.
fund.
I mean, the city did fund the donuts and, I mean, the cupcakes. And the city enjoyed those the next day, right? How many cupcakes did you have? So. Yeah. Well, we'll see. Well, you know.
I think getting consideration for catering might be a good way. I mean, if it's kind of the
Draw
parks,
people.
yeah, the Parks Committee saying that, you know, we want to do this for the community as well and you to the grant recipients and
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be elaborate, you know, but just something simple, maybe, just maybe to see Bruce, or I don't know how that process works.
The only thing I wouldn't want to do is take money away from the grant program so that we can have a catered event. I mean, that would be,
I don't think that that's what I was.
No, I know.
Is if we could ask Bruce if there's some money somewhere because it bought cupcakes, so there's maybe a fund somewhere that we.
I'm sure there's a fund, but I don't think. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the cupcakes cost that much. A catered event would be spendy.
No, I think it's worth exploring. I think
Okay.
that would be a good way for people to come and just say that, hey,
We probably could, yeah, if we had a real catered.
if you've got free food, you'll get people. to come.
That's true. Yeah. Okay, well, when we get closer to evaluating the application, let's remember all those great ideas
Mhm.
and we'll. Maybe Anita, you can discuss with Bruce. So my.
Sure.
Catering it. Okay.
I want Amy to come with me though.
Another option could be get a band and charge admission, and that would pay for our catering and. we'll turn it into a big-
Big community party. End of summer, that might be good fun.
Just brainstorming here.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on the grant? Okay, so next we're ready for good of the order. Anyone? I'd like to remind everyone that at 6:00 tonight is our training and especially for new committee members. It's and even people that have been here for a while, you learn a lot. It's always interesting after we have the training, the first meeting after, everybody's afraid to say anything. But it's available. I mean, you can come in person. It's available online tonight and it'll be recorded. So if you can't attend. But I think it's something that's really important for all of us to get a review on public meeting law and how we conduct. Remember that?
Zoom and YouTube, it's available on both forms.
Right, it's great. Yeah. Okay, anything else?
So I just wanted to kind of keep on our radar screen, the Karen LeBlanc's project to upgrade our water system. That the part that has to do with the line that actually runs along the road within the ECFR is those proposals I think are coming in pretty quick. And I just want us to be aware that there is some level of work that's going to happen within the ECFR at some point. And I think it's appropriate that we be aware of that.
Yeah, and I had a
There's
conversation.
nothing,
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I had a conversation with possibly one of the engineers that's going to be doing the project. And that's the first thing I brought up is that we really have to look at how we put this water line in the ground. Take advantage of boring when we can bore and minimize the open ditch to avoid damaging any roots. And then also having our city arborist involved when there is a game plan that's created, wherever there is going to be open ditch areas, having our city arborist involved to give his input on possibly a different direction the water line could go in to save a tree. So yeah, it's being discussed, but it's just very entry level right now.
absolutely. I just wanted to
Of course.
kind of keep it on the radar screen.
And that reminds me of one more thing. Do we know when the ECFR management plan is going to be on city council work session agenda?
Sure, I'll have to ask Jen
Okay,
because
as it was approved. It was approved at a committee level
Right.
last meeting. So if you can let us know about that.
Yep.
Appreciate it. That's right, we will.
I haven't been up to the ECFR lately, but I'm wondering about our blackberries. I'm hoping they're not showing their pretty little faces.
The last time I looked, it was
It
looking.
was pretty good.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
I agree.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
In fact, I looked at them this past weekend during the cash opening and yeah, it looked really good to me. We've got quite a bit more of the cutting or the wood chips available. And some of those have slid a little bit on that slope, if you remember where we put the trailer down.
Yeah.
But generally, I'd say,
And if you guys need more wood chips, let me know.
Okay.
Okay,
yeah, no, we're,
because I can get you another load up there. Good wood chips.
you know, one of the things that we might think about when work is being done with regard to, well, any regard, but with regard to the water line, in this case, if there are some projects that we've got that might dovetail in some way, we should at least be thinking about taking advantage of the opportunity.
And you are going to see some activity. Rick Hudson, our emergency manager, he's in the process of putting 2 containers at the water treatment plant, kind of like at the cache site there. It's going to be utilized for filtration system inside those trailers. So you're going to see some work out there. We're doing a makeshift road on one of the sides of the fence on the water treatment
Okay.
plant. It's online. I don't know if he wants to say something. You want to say anything, Rick?
Good morning. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we are doing quite a bit of work out there to improve our resiliency, and it's in the perfect spot for us. So we're buying several trailers and building this site. So it is the ultimate backup for us to get water filtered through our different sources and deliver them to the city. And then the containers also are a perfect place to store these trailers because there's no room at other places in the city. So we're really happy about the site being developed.
Great.
Rick?
Thanks, Rick. Okay, anything else? So it's nice to have everyone back together again. And
Full house.
just because of that, we're adjourning. Thank you. Thank you.